a second basic concept of cause and effect is that cause and effect are relative to each other. A cause creates an effect, and effect creates another cause, while this other cause then creates a new effect again. So it is like a chain. And the third concept of cause and effect would be that cause and effect persists over time. In other words, no one escapes karma. Once you create a cause, you are bound to have to bear the consequences of such cause, which is the effect. And basically, we can say that karma will eventually manifest, no matter whether it is in this life or the next. And the fourth basic concept of cause and effect would be that cause and effect are two sides of the same coin. So a cause is contained within the effect, while the effect is contained within the cause. After talking about the four basic concepts of cause and effect, let's now look at the 6 ways to understand cause and effect. First of all, we have to realize that effects arise from causes. Just like how we've talked about, dependent origination depends on the presence of a cause and presence of right conditions. Therefore, if there is cause but no condition, then there will be nothing. But at the same time, if there's no cause, yet the right conditions present, we'll still get nothing. So cause is of primary importance, while effect is of secondary importance. This is just like the seed of Buddhahood within us. By studying the Dharma and practicing precepts and so on, this seed will grow healthily. And now the second way to understand cause and effect will be that perception of appearance depends on cause and conditions. And as we talk about condition, we're referring to the characteristic or features of phenomena. For example, when we look at the universe, what are its features? Its features would be the fact that everything in the universe is impermanent. Everything in the universe is interconnected. That's the feature of things within the universe. And what's more, each phenomena has its own feature. For example, when you look at fire, the feature of fire would be the fact that it is hot. Or when you look at ice, it would be cold. Or each individual looks different. We have our own features because we are subject to a different set of conditions. And to understand this, it would require the right condition for perception to take place. For example, if I was to go to France, I don't speak French, and then when I listen to the people talking, what they say or what they deliver will only be different sounds pronounced by them. To me, that would be what it appears like. And what's more, our appearances are affected by the inner conditioning of our minds. For example, when we are happy, we smile. When we are unhappy, we frown. Therefore, our appearance is affected by our mind. And now the third way to understand cause and effect is that events depend on principles. And they're a pair, basically. So the universe has a rational basis, a principle. When you look at a table, you know that it's a thing. It's not an animal. So a table is not an elephant. It's obvious to you. And cars don't pop out of nowhere for no reason. Or pumpkin seeds do not grow into tomatoes. Or you tap a wood. It's not going to sound like a bell. All of these are the principles of events. And the fourth way to understand cause and effect would be the fact that many arise from the one. For example, a small beginning is connected to a complex result. Or a single seed can grow many fruits. Or the human mind also has great potentials. You can think about small things, but you can turn them into big acts. For example, a small act of cruelty can lead to disastrous effects. Yet a small act of generosity can lead to wonderful effects. That's why the saying tells us that do not commit an act of atrocity just because it is minor. Do not pass up the opportunity to perform a virtuous deed just because it is small. Okay, now the fifth way to understand cause and effect is that existence stands in emptiness. For example, in order for me to be in this room has to be empty. Or in order for me to drink a glass of water, the glass will have to be empty in order for water to be in there. To put it simply, that's the way it is. And the sixth way to understand cause and effect is that a Buddha is produced from a human being. As we know that we all possess the Buddha nature, this is something that the Buddha became enlightened to. And the way to become a Buddha is to fully understand the importance of cause and effect and then purify our minds. That's why in the Platform Sutra, the 6th Patriarch says that a Buddha is an enlightened sentient being, while a sentient being is a Buddha who has not yet become enlightened. So very quickly, these are the 6 ways to understand cause and effect. And now, next thing which we need to look at dependent origination are the 4 conditions pertinent to it. For cause and effect to operate, there must be right conditions. That's one condition. Secondly, dependent origination is the interplay between cause, effect, and conditions. And in this case, cause is primary, but conditions are also very important. Now we need to look at 4 conditions pertinent to dependent origination. As we've talked about how in order for cause and effect to operate, there must be right conditions. And we also understand that dependent origination is the interplay between cause, effect, and condition. Therefore, cause is primary, but conditions are also very important. And these 4 conditions are as followed. First of all, there's the causal condition. It means that cause of a phenomenon is intrinsic to that phenomenon. For example, the seed that produces a shoot could be a causal condition of that shoot, since in some way the shoot is contained in the seed. But the sunshine that causes the shoot to grow is different. Sunshine is extrinsic to both seed and the shoot. And human behavior is often caused by both intrinsic and extrinsic causes. For example, the intrinsic seed of human laughter, which is a causal condition, normally only sprouts when an intrinsic cause, such as a joke, stimulates it. And the second condition is what we call condition without intervals. They're also known as successive conditions, and they refer especially to conditions of the mind. As we understand that the mind moves very rapidly from one instant of thought to the next. When the Buddha contemplated the succession of these instants, he realized that there is no interval between them. He saw that the contents of our thoughts are at one instant gives rise to the contents of our thoughts at the next instant. And he saw that this happens without the help of any outside agency, without interval and in the absence of any other medium except the mind. Therefore, careful scrutiny of mind conditions without intervals leads to great insight into the workings of karma and the human mind. And now the third condition is what we call conditional conditioning. These are all extrinsic conditions that have bearings on the mind. For example, intrinsic to the mind is eye consciousness. But without extrinsic form and light, then this consciousness will not be able to function properly. And the same is also true for other senses. The Buddha said that thought itself cannot occur without the external conditional conditions of past, present, and future. And finally, the fourth condition are any condition that does not involve the first 3 conditions. Therefore, we call them other conditions. These could include all those conditions that can either assist the process of cause and effect or that do not hinder it, to put them in simple words. And for example, the fact that a deer did not eat a blueberry is one of the other conditions that have allowed the blueberry to exist. So the deer not eating the blueberry has produced the blueberry in a way. So this is what we mean by the 4th type of conditions. And we can also think of the above 4 conditions as being either direct conditions or indirect conditions. And once again, all causal conditions are considered to be conditions that operate directly on phenomenon, while the other 3 kinds of conditions are considered to operate indirectly. A further insight into the 4 kinds of conditions is this. Conditional conditions and other conditions are sufficient by themselves to produce material phenomena. But in contrast, mind requires all conditions for its operation. So these are the very simple words to explain the 4 conditions pertinent to dependent origination. And to sum up what we've talked about today, we have to realize that dependent origination shows us how the process of change takes place. Secondly, dependent origination shows us the cause of suffering. Therefore, we can go a step further by saying that dependent origination teaches us that we are not helpless people doomed to live in misery and incompetence because our future lies in our own hands. And future conditions depend on causal seeds that we plant today. Another thing which dependent origination teaches us is that it teaches us how to understand what is more valuable in life and how to turn negative circumstances into positive ones. It also teaches us how to understand that all phenomena are conditioned by other phenomena and that they all stand in emptiness. Last but not least, dependent origination is something that can help us take ourselves beyond greed, anger, ignorance, attachment, suffering, and delusions of duality. Therefore, these are all the points which you need to remember when studying dependent origination. And we'll stop here today, and I hope my explanations on dependent origination have helped you gain some more understanding on what this very important philosophy or theory in Buddhism is about. Okay, we'll see you next time.